Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the iPad Pro 9.7 review. The iPad Pro has been out for, well, a few months if you count the larger one, but just a week and a half if you count just this one. And this particular one is basically the same size as an iPad Air with different specs and a few different features. First, let's talk about the color options, and this is the space gray option. So we have space gray, silver, gold, and rose gold, just like you do your iPhones and the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Pro at this point, although we don't have rose gold on the iPad Pro, the larger one. However, this one is the smaller 9.7-inch display. It comes in at 32 gigabytes for $599 and then goes all the way to 1,029 for 256 gigabytes with cellular. I don't really care about the cellular part. That does add a GPS antenna also, but you can use your phone to tether and use the same functionality, so why not save the money? It's $129 extra or so just to have the cellular and the actual GPS antenna. Now, if that's something you want to use, great. If it's not, pick the one without it. I've got the 128 gigabyte model here, which was $749. Now, with that, you pretty much need two accessories, or at least one accessory, in my opinion. One is the smart keyboard, or a keyboard. It adds a lot of functionality. This is a $150 accessory. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And then you've got the Apple Pencil, which is a $100 accessory if you're into drawing. And this is something you'll probably want to do on this iPad. Otherwise, just get a regular iPad. Now, the iPad Pro does have some advantages. It has a very fast processor, the A9X processor, same as the one in the larger iPad Pro, but this one only has 2 gigabytes of RAM internally. So instead of 4 gigabytes, we've got 2 gigabytes, but we have an upgraded camera with a flash, similar to the camera in the current iPhone, and we have an upgraded True Tone display, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then we have 4 speakers. So we've got 2 on the bottom, we've got 2 more on the top, and that's pretty much it as far as the external differences from an iPad Air. So if I go ahead and unlock this, let's rotate it back, unlock it, it sits flat even though we have a camera bump. And one of the bad things is with this camera bump, I thought I'd show you, is it's actually starting to wear, and it's only been used for about a week and a half. I've used it every single day since it came out, and you'll see it's worn out there a little bit. It's supposed to be this blackish color on the top, and it's worn out just from setting it down. It'll start to wear down here too, I'm sure. Now, the other difference is these pins where the smart keyboard connects, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. So the iPad Pro, it's really nice, but it's pretty expensive for what you're getting. Very, very fast. And you've got this new True Tone display. And the True Tone display uses 4 sensors, 2 which you can see right here. There's one here, one over here. They look at the ambient color in the room and try and match the display to that color. And the idea is it gives you better overall tone to the actual drawing surface that you're using. So if you're using a sheet of paper in a similar room, it should have a similar look to this screen. I'm not crazy about it, but let me show you what it looks like. So if I open this up, and let's go to display, and right here you'll see there's True Tone display. So True Tone display, if I turn it off, the screen gets more blue. If I turn it back on, because it's a little bit more yellow in the room, it shifts more to a yellowish color. And you can turn it to auto brightness. It's very similar to night shift, only much more true to the room and doesn't just eliminate blue light out of the display. So it's pretty interesting. I can't say that I'm crazy about it over the time I've used it. Now, the battery in this I've found to be the same as the iPad Air 2. I get a full 10 hours out of it, no problem. Right in that ballpark, same thing. Depending what you're doing. If you're playing games, you're going to get less. If you play something else, you're going to get more. This iPad's really fast. It's got the same split view. So if I go into Safari, let me turn Wi-Fi on here. If I go into Safari, we can do split view. So if I rotate it, this is my website here. If I slide in, here's movies. It works really nice, and we can just use split view here. Works really, really well. Let's pick, we'll go back to Apple News. I'm on Apple News too if you want to follow me there. But Apple News, and then you can go back to whatever you're doing. So it's nice. You've got that nice quick way to go in and out, but you can do that on the iPad Air 2 also. This one actually does have a nice advantage in that it has the smart connector for the smart keyboard. Now, the smart keyboard like I said, I thought it was, if you've seen my previous videos in the larger iPad, I thought it was a really dumb accessory. Overpriced keyboard, made of cloth, but it has some neat technology in it. You don't use a battery, and it doesn't pair, you just plug it in and it works. It has basically printed or woven circuitry through here, so it should last over time, just folding over and over and over. And the other thing that's really nice is it's a stand, so you can fold it. It's kind of awkward at first, but basically this is a magnet. It folds like this. And then I can bring this back around like this to make it a normal stand. You can also use it flattened like this, but it's not quite as nice. So let me bring the keyboard out and show you that. Now the keyboard is cloth, and the keys do wobble a little bit. They're very similar to the MacBook, the newer MacBook keys, but a little less stable. The nice thing is with a keyboard, you get many of the same functionality keyboard shortcuts that you do with a regular Mac. So Command Space brings up Spotlight Search. You can search. If you do Command C, you can copy. Command V, you can paste. Command A, select all. You can use the arrow keys when you're in Safari or Pages or whatever you're doing, and it's more a fluid experience when you're using these different applications. It's much easier to do that. With Apple calling this a Pro device, it's got many of the things a MacBook or a MacBook Pro has. So for example, a MacBook will come with a certain feature set, but a MacBook Pro will have a faster processor. So in the iPad Pro, we have a faster processor. The MacBook Pro will have better speakers. So in the iPad Pro, we have better speakers. A MacBook Pro will have more accessory ports, but Apple's only given us a faster accessory port. So if we want to use anything like USB, we have to buy an adapter that costs extra money. This is powered and you can use microphones with it, but you still need this Lightning to USB dongle that you can power also. So it's nice, but it's still something extra. You can't just plug in something such as USB or have added storage. So if you were to add 4K video to this, such as using iMovie and editing 3 4K streams like they say you can, or Apple says you can, you're going to fill up 128 gigabytes or even 256 gigabytes pretty quickly with those streams. So you need some external storage or expandable storage, in my opinion. That's one area where this falls really short. So I would love to see Apple come out with Final Cut Pro 10 or Logic Pro or one of those to make the iPad Pro truly pro. And maybe we'll see something like that this coming year with WWDC and the next version of iOS. I'm not really sure. The last thing, though, is this iPad, as nice as it is, I've been using the regular, larger iPad Pro for quite some time now. And I have to say that as an iPad and using it regularly, the larger 12.9-inch iPad Pro is just much, much better. If you're going to spend the extra money on a iPad Pro and you already have an iPad, it's better, in my opinion, to go with the larger iPad Pro where you've got more screen real estate and really just a better overall experience, a full-size keyboard. With this keyboard, it's just better, in my opinion, when it comes to that. The iPad Pro line is really nice, and hopefully Apple will do something really interesting with it pretty soon. But right now, the iPad Pro is a little bit confusing and a little underwhelming, in my opinion. I love Apple products, but this one, I think I would pass on if I have an iPad Air 2 already or an iPad Air. Maybe if I was upgrading to an iPad and I wanted something a little bit better, I would go with the iPad Pro, but it's a little bit more money, so you'd really have to want some of the specific features for that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've used either of these iPad Pros, let me know. I think they're both good, but the 9.7 is a little underwhelming to me and a little bit late. It should have been released at the same time. Maybe they had component problems. I don't really know. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. And be sure to check out some other videos on the channel regarding the other iPad Pro and let us know what you think there as well. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time. We have a power sleep wake button with a little speaker grill there. And then we have another speaker grill and a 3.5mm headphone jack. These two speakers work in tandem with two more speakers that we see on